Hello, folks. Sorry I'm late. I needed a passcode.
Hi.
I needed a passcode to get through. I apologize. Now can you see me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Had been emailing for the last 20 minutes to the folks and just got it. So again, I apologize for my tardiness. I'm usually not like that. But well, my name is Sandy Ratliff. I'm with Virginia Community Capital, and thanks for joining me this afternoon to talk about one of my favorite things and something I've been very focused on for the last, I'll give my age, but over 30 years in helping businesses get started and grow in Southwest Virginia. Since we're doing this remotely, I appreciate you allowing me to do that. For medical reasons, I was not able to be there in person. But if you will bear with me, I would be happy to go through some slides and share with you. And if you have questions for me, please don't hesitate to speak up and get my attention. I get kind of excited about this stuff. Is that cool?
Sure.
How many's in there? 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. Just a little bit about who we are. Virginia Community Capital. We're a community development financial institution. We're really a nonprofit, but we have a for-profit bank, and we focus on 3 areas, and that is lending, impact or innovation, and investments. And we're kind of new. We started in 2006, thanks to, at the time, Governor Warner, who saw a need for small business lending in Virginia and helped us generate $15 million to create what is now Virginia Community Capital. And we've made good on that money. We've using that investment and through the loans and jobs created and the revitalizations that we've done, we know that we've done about 11,700 jobs that we've created and retained over the years, with about 19.4 million net income over the past 15 years. So that's about 176% growth in net assets. And again, we're not your average lender. We look at all aspects of a loan and how it's going to impact a community. And that's what we look at. And again, this is kind of the things that we look at. We do real estate. We also are very involved in grocery and food access. It's hard to believe that there are parts of Virginia that have limited fresh food access. So we have programs with that, solar energy, and then we do a number of programs to support small businesses, from everything from debt refinancing to tenant improvements to equipment purchasing and so forth. Now, starting a business. Now, I know there's 3 in the room. Are you looking at starting or are you looking at growing? That's a question.
I'm just interested in the presentation. I'm not really interested in either.
Okay.
Options since I've medically retired out of the military and I'm so young and I don't know what to do with the rest of my life.
Okay. Well, I hope I'll give you something to think about. Well, starting a business is not build it and they will come. There's some things that you need to look at when starting a business. One of the major things is it financial feasible for you. You got to look at your assets and so forth. Is it a good idea? Is it something that people will buy? If I think it's the next slide I'll show you, but is it a product or services that is needed? And that's why you have to develop a business plan. And that's key. And I can tell you that if you do decide that you want to start a business and you go out looking for equity or investing, they're going to say, do you have a business plan? And I hope that as you look at that, you will develop that business plan, because you have to. You're making that investment. It's not me, but it's you that's making that investment, and you want to make sure you're making a sound decision. So what makes up a business plan? You have to do your market research to see, again, is there something that's needed in the community that you're going to be posting it in? Do you have the financials? What's it going to take to open the doors, and how much are you going to have to invest? I can tell you that nobody's going to put 100% investment into your business. So if you are going to look at starting something, you should be prepared to making that investment on your own. You got to look at the operations, the marketing, the management, and the administrative part, and we'll look at that. Demand. When people ask me and talk to me about starting a business, one of the things is there a demand for it? Some people say, I want to start a restaurant. Well, why? Because I love to cook. Well, the reality is when you start that business, you will not be back there cooking. You're going to be managing employees. You're going to be getting supplies. You're going to be handling the accounting part. And hopefully you won't have the irate customers, but you're not going to be back there. So you have to look at that. Is there a demand for that product? If it's to manufacture 8-track tapes, that's probably not a demand market, and I wouldn't suggest that you make that investment. So you got to look at the demand and supply, and is it better than the current or different that's available in the marketplace? And again, what does the area need? You need to concentrate your efforts on your market research and your financials. That's important. And whatever you do, even if it's an existing business or you're looking at expanding, I highly recommend that businesses do a SWOT analysis that look at your strengths and weaknesses and your opportunities and threats before you start investing additional resources, capital that's sometimes hard to get your hands on, to look at that. And what are some of the direct to indirect issues in regards to your business? You know, I know that COVID has really impacted businesses hard over the past year or now a year and a half. And many have closed their doors. Many have had to change in how they sell their products. But those are things that you need to look at. So what are your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats? Pricing. How are you going to be competitive in the market, but also have a valuable product? Because you're not wanting to give away your business. You're doing this to make money. So that's where it comes into your research, where you know every dime that's going into creating that product or providing that service. And then how can you add additional money on it so where you can actually generate an income from it, pay those bills, and keep doing it every month and every year, because you have to be profitable. And that's key. And that's where some people fail to do their research to make sure they identify every cost. And one example is if you are doing a restaurant, you need to identify just how many transactions a week, then a month, do I need to do just to break even on my liabilities, that I can pay those bills, let alone make money. You have to know that. And then what are your startup expenses? What's going to be necessary to open your doors? Is it going to be, you got to rent space, you got to buy inventory, you got to buy equipment? Know exactly how much money you're going to need up front, and also those hidden costs, like to tap onto utilities. What's that cost going to be? Everything needs to be laid out. And then again, those ongoing expenses. If you're going to have internet, if you're going to hire someone to do your website, what's that monthly fee going to be? If you're going to do advertising, or you've got someone that's going to do maintenance on your HVAC system every 6 months, you got to know what those costs are going to be. When should you start making money? I highly recommend that people look at doing a break-even analysis. There's lots of examples online and templates that you can do, but you need to realize and know where it is that your break-even is where you can start making money. Again, you're not wanting to give away your business. You want to do this as an investment and to make money. Marketing is one of my favorite topics. We could spend 3 hours on that topic, but marketing is key to whatever kind of business or service that you do, because if people do not know that you exist, you're not going to be able to have those transactions and have that cash register going. You got to know who your competition is, and you need to develop a strategy. So why is it important? Well, no customers, no sales, no business. And I really feel that marketing is probably one of the most important activities that any business will do. And it's because you have to keep continuing keeping that pipeline of customers not only happy and engaged, but also bring awareness to those new ones that are looking, that maybe they got upset with the competition and they're looking for someone new. And really, the way customers make their transactions and do their purchasing has totally changed. It's changed in the last 3 years. And if you look at it, it's really changed during COVID. People, if you're looking to buy something, if you're like me, I either go to Facebook and put a post and say, I'm looking for this type of product or this service. Can you give me recommendations? You can also go to Google and do searches. There's options there. You can also read, you can even go to the state agency for professional and occupational license to find the contractor that you're looking for and to see if they're legit. You can send emails. You can do visits to their website or to their Facebook page. And all of that is part of the journey now that people are doing online. It's no longer going to the yellow pages. We're doing things so much faster. And if you don't have the content and people know that you exist, you're going to miss out on these opportunities. And let me tell you, those recommendations from friends on Facebook mean a whole lot. I don't know if you've ever done that in making a purchase, but I do that often. And then it means a whole lot. And you know when someone's gotten burned and those that have done well. The other part of marketing that's extremely important, and again, I can't stress enough of how COVID has brought this home, is having a website. And you can do a website that's not real expensive, but you've got to be able to, if you're going to make that investment and you're doing it yourself, you've got to have one that has easily found. The text is people can understand it. It's not just in the way you're thinking, how it looks. Pictures, videos are important. But again, when I go and are making a purchase, especially if it's a big ticket, I go to their website and look to see how legit it is, how recent it is, that they've made updates to their content. And the other thing that you need to look at, it's extremely important now, is it mobile friendly? Can people reach it on their devices? Because we don't go anywhere without these devices. And we probably do, if you're like me, I do more on my iPhone than I do on my computer. So that is key. And there are websites, and I can share with you, that can help you develop that. Or there's lots of people out there that can help you develop a website, but that is key for your business. I just want to throw this in here. People will forget what you said, but people will never forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that is key. That's that customer service part in a business, is how you made that person feel after they gave you that money or you charged their credit card for that service. And that's where you get that referral from. Some financial information that you're going to have if you go to a lender. And this is a lot to grasp, but I just wanted to share it because I think it's important that you need to know that. Is you need to have a balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, which is important. So many businesses fail because they did not manage their cash flow. They had more money going out that was coming in. And especially in the restaurant industry, that can really get you. So that's something you need to look at, and you're going to have your personal financial statements available. And these are things that we at Virginia Community Capital, if you come to us for financing, this is what we're going to require, as well as your business plan that we want to know about. Any questions so far?
Yes, I have
Yeah,
one. How do you feel about social media marketing? Do you think it's worth the investment for some businesses when you have like all these influencers that are all the time just jam packing everybody when you see them on social media? Like it seems like nowadays you can't scroll through Instagram without somebody wanting to influence a product versus some companies paying the sponsored ad.
Well, I think it's how you put the content that you put up is very important. Content is king. And also to identify which social platforms is where your audience that you're targeting is. But I can tell you from experience, I don't know of a cheaper way that you can access your audience, but through social media. A lot of it you can do free. You can do some cheap paid ads on there. And I'm also including videos on YouTube. So it's really, that's part of that research that you would have to do, is to see where is your audience. But I really think that that is key. And I don't see that changing anytime soon, because do you get a paper regularly? A
I
newspaper?
do, yeah, I do.
Well, you're greater than some people. And if you're like me, I'm not watching a lot of local news or local channels.
I do that. I do that too.
So, you know,
my parents have embezzled that in me.
Well, you're different than a lot of your audience, but that's again, that's part of your market research, is where is your audience? What are they looking for? Where are they? And once you identify that, then you would be able to tune in and target. But I can tell you, TV, radio, and newspaper is a lot more expensive, and it's hard for you to manage than it is on YouTube or Facebook or what have you, because you want to make a change quickly. You can do it right on your account and you're fine. But if it's that newspaper and you've signed that contract, it may take you several newspapers or several publications coming out before you can make those changes. But that's a decision you have to make.
Okay.
That's just my experience. If you got tons of money, that's great. But if you're not and you've got to be frugal, that's why you got to choose wisely. The other part that people don't understand that's vital when starting a business is determining what kind of legal entity are you going to be. Because when you are making that decision, that's going to impact your taxes both personally and within your business. It also affects your personal taxes and your business taxes and how the IRS will treat you. And what I'm saying is identifying, are you going to be a sole proprietor? A sole proprietor could be if you're selling things online that you're not really keeping in the inventory, you're just buying from someone else. You're handling orders and having them direct ship. You probably would be better off because you have less chance that you have a customer who's going to sue you and impact your personal assets. And it's one of the easiest ways. And I see more online businesses going with sole proprietor, but that's also a question that you want to ask your tax, your CPA or an attorney that you know. And it's pretty easy too to manage. You would just report that on your 1040 when you're filing out your taxes each year. Partnerships is a little bit more in establishing. But one thing about partnerships, you better be somebody that you like, because once money gets involved and it becomes the stress level is at someone that's going to be with you for the long haul. But you would have to have some type of agreement between all the partners of how the profits and how the business will be established, who's going to do what in that business, who's going to be the procurement, who's going to do, each thing, and that needs to be spelled out, because when you break that partnership, you would have to have that document and have justification to show that. The other is for larger businesses that I've seen is a C corporation or S corporation. This is a little bit bigger. People that do a lot of how can I say, land development. I see do corporations and S corps. There's just a lot. It's going to take you a lot more money to manage because you've got a lot of more reporting to do. But there are options for you if you decide to go with as a C Corp or as an S Corp in regards to your business. Probably the most used by everybody is a limited liability company. What that allows you is, again, if I'm upset with you, let's say that I come into your business and I trip and fall and I want to sue you. If you're set up as an S or a sole proprietor, I can go after not only your business, but your personal assets. With a limited liability company, that protects your personal assets. So only the business would be impacted by that. It's also easier and less expensive to set up than a regular C Corp or an S Corporation. And you can set up different types of LLCs, either a single person, a multi-person partnership, if you're looking at that. Now, one of the disadvantages of an LLC is the worker's owner must pay self-employment tax on 100% of your earnings from the business. But that's where that CPA comes in to help you on that. But that's something that you have to make that decision. And I'm not a CPA and I'm not an attorney, and I don't want to make that decision for you. You got to make that what's best for you. Again, reaching out to an accountant and attorney, a lot of times they will answer some of those questions free in hopes that you develop that relationship. And when you start that business, you're looking at a CPA, you would use them. But I do recommend that you reach out to a professional that can help you in making the decision, what's best for my type of business, my taxes, my personal assets. You need to look at that. Some other things you have to do when starting that business is not only determine the legal entity, but then you've got to look at the trade name. What's the name of your business? You want to make sure, do your research to make sure that there's nobody else operating, especially in Virginia, under that name. And I can tell you a great example. A number of years ago, I worked with a plumber located in Glade Spring. He started his business. He just decided, I want to do something on the side to generate money, and it started doing pretty good. And he just kind of went on and did it himself, but he didn't do his research. Come to find out, he started getting these letters from the Richmond court that he had to appear in court for his business under that name. And after many trips to Richmond, it came to find out that someone else was operating under that same business name, and that was who was being sued. But after many miles and lots of money, he realized next time, if he ever did it again, he needed to do his research to make sure that that name is available and that you register that with the State Corporation Commission. Again, if you're going to do an LLC, or if you just give it the fictitious name, what you're going to be used, please register that with the State Corporation Commission so that will not happen. Also, it's good if you've identified the name of your business is to see, okay, I do want to do a website eventually. Maybe I can't do it right now, but I want to see if there's a URL available under that name. You can go to internic.net and look and see if if that's available. And then you might want to go to GoDaddy or one of the others and go ahead and pay $25 to obtain that URL under your business name. And of course, the IRS wants a piece of the action, and you need to get your federal employer identification number, your FEIN number, and you need to do that on the IRS. And in Virginia, they want a piece of the action. You need to register your business with the Virginia Department of Taxation. And if you have 3 or more employees, you need to register your business with the Virginia Employment Commission. Depending on the type of business that you are in Virginia, there are some businesses that are required to have a professional occupational regulations license. That would be like insurance agent, a carpenter, even someone that operates a tattoo parlor. There's a number of things on there that you have to have a license. We call it DPOR. And you can go there at dpor.virginia.gov to see if it's required, but you do have to have that to operate in Virginia. And then you need to obtain a business license from your local commissioner of revenue. Now in Virginia, counties do not require a business license, but towns and cities do. For example, in Washington County, you can be operating in the county and you don't have to have a business license. But if you're in the town of Abingdon, you do have to have a business license to operate. So you need to do your research there. And also register your business with the courthouse, whatever the name of that business is. Am I going too fast? Because I think we're getting soon out of time. Some other things to look at is establish a business checking account. Don't mix your personal checking account with your business. Trust me, things get busy and you'll get things watered down when it comes tax time. It's going to be so crazy. Just go ahead and set up your own checking account for your business. Same way with your credit card processing if you want to have a credit card for your business. Fund the business, look at your own capital, how much you can invest in it. There are loans available, and I'll share a little bit about that in just a second. I just finished up before we came on a workshop on QuickBooks that was led by Hickok and Brown CPAs, talking about the versus QuickBooks desktop versus online. That's available on Virginia Community Capital's Facebook page if you'd like to see that. But that's important, is how you set up your books. That is key to keeping things straight going forward, especially if you get audited. But you also want to make it easier for you, because you don't want to have to keep a CPA all the time online, and you want to keep up with your invoices and so forth, what's coming in and that cash flow especially. Again, depending on the type of business, you need to get liability insurance. If you don't know if you need some, pick up the phone, call your insurance agent that you have at your home and say, this is what I'm looking at. Do you feel like I should have some type of liability insurance? If so, what's that going to cost? I know when we first in Southwest Virginia started really looking at adventure tourism, there was not really any insurance available. And people had to go all the way to a company in Indiana to find outdoor recreation insurance for, people. If you want to start a kayak business and take people down the Clinch River, you were taking a risk if you didn't have some type of liability insurance. Now that's changed, but just check around. It's better to be safe than sorry. And then, of course, hiring your employees and set up the payroll records, and then have the grand opening, call in the chamber to help you. Financing your business, I'll be quick. How much cash should you have as a business owner on hand? And that depends on when you did your research to see what it's going to cost to open that business and operate it. I would highly suggest you have enough money on hand to operate it for at least the first 6 months. You never know what's going to happen, because you're going to have to build your client base, and that cash flow is extremely important. Probably the majority of businesses that close is because their cash flow got out of hand and they couldn't make it up. So that's important, and you keep a record of that. There's two main ways to finance a business, and that's through equity. That's money you've already got in savings in your bank, or you go seeking financing. Again, equity could be your personal savings. It could be retirement. You could even look at angel networks and that type of thing. One of the reasons why equity financing is appealing is because it's less costly to you. However, I don't suggest anyone use 100% of their savings to put in their business, because there's going to be months that you're not going to have enough money to pay that power bill or that supplier, and you're going to have to dip into something. It's a lot cheaper to invest or to dip into your savings account that you have, to show that you have a secondary income source too. For a lender is very appealing. So something that you need to really look at. Sources of debt financings, lines of credit. They can be short-term to help with payroll, supplies, and rent. Of course, credit cards. It's not something that I would highly recommend, because they can get the interest rate can get high if you don't keep those paid off quickly. Another thing that people don't think about is if you are working with a supplier, see if the supplier would help you in managing and financing some of those initial investments, especially if it's equipment purchase. Some companies now are doing their own financing. So that means you don't have to go to a lender, your local bank, and say, I need $20,000 for this piece of equipment. See if the equipment supplier would do that. You can do business term loans. You can also look at leasing instead of purchasing it all up front. And then there are government programs like the Small Business Administration, USDA, and others that have some financing available. I will be honest with you, for startup businesses, it's a little harder to get than for existing businesses where you have a track record. But that's why that business plan and all your research at the beginning is that you show that you've done your research and that you know there's a need in the market. I've got all my costs nailed down, and I feel like I can make money at this business. Again, things that a lender will look for: your personal credit report. If you don't know what your credit score is, you need to keep up with that and know that well, because that'll be the first thing they'll do is they'll check it out. A service that I use is Credit Karma. You can download the app, and you can every night you can check on your credit score to see what it is. If you don't know that, but that's something that you'll need to know. You need to gather your personal business records for the past 3 years. Be specific on what you're asking for. Don't go to that lender and say, I'm looking for a loan, and he or she says, how much? Well, how much will you give me? That is not the answer to give. Trust me, that does not show that you've done your homework or that you have a handle on your business. So make sure you're specific in what your needs are and why you need that. Also show your primary sources of repayments. That will show the transactions that you've showed when you've done your performance in your business plan, and also that secondary repayment. It's very important. And as you said that you have retired from the military, if you've got that income coming in, that's important to show that you have a secondary income source that you can help with the repayments. Bank underwriters, I know at Virginia Community Capital, they get paid to look at risks. And it's nothing to be turned down for a a loan request. It's just, it could be, I know right now we as a bank are not doing anything in the restaurant, hospitality industry. There's one more and I just went blank on it. It's just because of the risk right now. There's so many that have closed. And it's just a risky business right now. Most common weaknesses that lenders find is that you have insufficient collateral. You don't have enough money and assets to pay off if the debt goes bad. Lack of management experience. If you say you want to start a restaurant, why? Is because I love to eat. That's probably not the answer. I love to eat, but that's not the answer to give them. Or you have insufficient cash injection to show, or your credit score, I forgot to do that. You need to know what your credit score is, and then explain why, if it's low, why that is. Some other sources of financing, of course, your savings, credit cards. I mentioned the SBA, and then you also look in your locality. Communities have industrial development authorities, and in Southwest Virginia, we have an organization called People Incorporated. I'm sure if you're from here, you've heard about it. They have a number of financing programs too that they get and provide financing for harder to fund businesses. But they require all the other stuff that I was talking about, business plan, and that you've done your homework. Again, preparing your applications, look for those 3 years tax returns and your most recent interim financials, balance sheet, profit and loss, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all of those kind of things. That's what any lender's going to ask for, and you should be prepared to do that. Facts about small business loans: 75% of all businesses start with capital from an owner, friends, or relatives. Something you need to know. And again, nobody's going to do 100% unless they have, baseball bats in their trunk of their Lincoln Continental. And if you don't make a payment, they come after you. You got to look out for those kind of things. Any questions? I know I hit you with a lot, but I was trying to make up for the lost time, but just kind of giving you an overview of what you need to look at when starting and building a business. I've left you belittled.
You covered it all.
It's a lot of information.
Well, I just want to give you something to think about. And recently I told someone, sometimes I think that I benefit someone by talking them out of it because they weren't prepared, and they would have used all their life savings on something that, hey, building 8-track tapes, there was no market for it, or that they weren't able to manage because they had no experience. But you can be very profitable, be very successful if you plan and do your research. There's too many. That's how the economy, that's just how our world goes around. It's through someone that had an idea, saw that there was a need in the market, figured out, how to establish that business and make money. And look at, you've got Walmart, you've got food cities, you've got all of this, and that was all based on someone with an idea and figured out how to make it work and make money at it.
I've got a question. My daughter and my son-in-law both have like little side hustles of woodworking, and she does clay house replicas. She's artistic. How do you price when it's something you make? I don't think you ever get back the amount of time you put in. You have to, you have the enjoyment. But how do you price an item?
Well, first, you gotta look at how much supplies, how much materials it goes into it. That could even be, do they use internet? I mean, the power and so forth. The second thing is, there's some people that they want this much money for their time to make that product.
And I think that's hard to judge that. I think there comes a price point where you're not going to sell it for your time. You have to do the enjoyment. Rachel start making the clay houses and it was Facebook. She just put it out on Facebook. Hey, does anybody want to do these? The paper picked it up. She was on the front page of the paper. She got so many orders that she had to put a freeze on her orders for now, and she said, Mom, I think I'm going to just open it up and say, I'll have 10 slots for orders, the first 10, that do that. But she's just, she's done a lot, and it's just she's got a real job.
And I'm on the Round the Mountain board of directors, and that's the thing that, our artisans struggle with all the time. But, is this a hobby or are you turning it into a business? So you gotta switch hats, and there is, that you've got to charge at least this amount to pay. Right. You don't want to give it away. Right. And then you just got to say, okay, I feel like my time for this is worth blank amount, and put it on.
You have to be satisfied with that. Yeah. It's enough to cover your expenses, I know, and part of your time, but you have to find the balance that you're okay with that.
That's right. And there might be somebody, in the booth down the hall that has something similar that's cheaper, but that's that value proposition, for yours or for your dollars.
This is.
It's like buying a Louis Vuitton versus a knockoff.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
It's just interesting to see, and with how she just put it on Facebook, and that was it.
Okay, well then there you go about Facebook and social media platforms. And the news picked it up. And let me tell you, the news does cover and follow social platforms and what's going on. And one of the key too is, even if you want a certain group or organization to pick up on it, is just tag them in that post and help get the word out. But I can't think of another platform where you have the freedom and the ability to reach so many people in a short amount of time than social media has provided.
Yeah.
Ladies, thank you for your time, and I hope
Thank
this
you.
helped.
Thank you.
Have a great day.